the government, document that tells the country whatever, or the direction the country is going. So anytime there's a budget presentation, analysts like ourselves, we follow a lot, because the budget is the fundamental document that government used to run the country. So you have the finances, you have the economic policies, you have the project, you have everything in it. So anytime there's budget, we know the direction of the country. So in November...
Hello, lovely viewers. This is your girl, Belinda. You can call me BB, Bella, or Bella Bell. I come to your homes, your offices, your schools, your cars with a program, Talk With You. Talk With You is a show that talks about and prioritizes issues that affect the ordinary Ghanaian.
Hello viewers, my name is Julius, an economic and then fiscal policy analyst. I just want you to urge you to subscribe to El Bebeto TV and then media. But VAT is the indirect taxes, and VAT is, let me say, the mother of all indirect taxes.
Hello lovely viewers, Merry Christmas to you all and a prosperous New Year. This is your girl Bella Bell. Today we are back here in the studio with a very lovely gentleman. He's an economic and fiscal policy analyst. We are here to discuss a very important topic on tax. I'll leave him to introduce himself very well to us, and then we'll get on with the show. Mr. Gyimah, you are welcome.
Thank you, Belinda. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
It's been ages.
Oh my God.
Merry Christmas to our cherished viewers and the listeners, and then those online, and then I think special greetings to producer. And then it's time of the season, so I think the Christmas mood is still there. We hope for the new year and the new things. So it's good we are back, and we are ending the show with the year.
New things, new economic policies.
Yes. It started last November. November the budget was read, and then the November is and the budget is actually the government document that tells the country whatever, or the direction the country is going. So anytime there's a budget presentation, analysts like ourselves, we follow a lot, because the budget is the fundamental document that government used to run the country. So you have the finances, you have the economic policies, you have the project, you have everything in it. So anytime there's budget, we know the direction of the country. So in November the budget was presented. There were some tax policies that was captured in the budget. There was some economic policies that was also captured in the budget, and then that from the beginning of the year, January, February, with the country, the economy was faced with a lot of things. There was inflation, cost of goods and services was going high, cost of petroleum products was also going high, was escalating, and this was largely due to the invasion of Russia in Ukraine. Russia supplies crude to the international market. Ukraine also supplied vegetables, cereals, sunflower oils and the likes and all that. Russia too also supplies gas to Europe. So anytime these two countries are fighting, obviously it's going to affect the global economy. Yeah. So sometimes we as Ghanaians, we should understand from that perspective and then zero down to our local economy.
But Ghanaians, we are not understanding that.
Yeah,
we can't understand it, because it looks like all we hear from the government is Russia-Ukraine war has affected us, COVID has affected us. Meanwhile, COVID happened in 2020. And now in the country, we are not even hearing about COVID, but we are still paying COVID tax.
Yes.
Can you talk more about the taxes and how it's affecting us as a country?
So interesting. What we normally do is that Ghanaians should have patience and then understand the subject matter. It is quite technical, but usually we are just, there's tax increase or there's tax deduction and all that. But the issue is that, like you rightly said, in 2021, back 2020, COVID struck, and then we're faced with situations where movement was restricted. People couldn't go around their businesses, both individuals and companies as well. So when that happened, it affected the economy. global economy was affected, local economy, that is our Ghanaian economy, it was affected because there was restriction, imposition of restrictions as well. So when that happens, it means that productivity will be zero, because once you move, when there is movement of goods and services, it increases productivity, brings money. There's money too should be circulated in the system. So it has that effect. And then obviously it will affect our taxes, because when taxes are imposed on incomes and taxes also are imposed on consumption, so once you earn money you pay tax, once you consume you pay tax. So that should set the tone for our discussion, meaning that there are two major types of taxes we have in the country or even across the world, which is income taxes and then consumption taxes. So you earn money, you pay taxes. You consume goods and services, you pay taxes. So the main taxes that we have in the country is a direct tax or income tax, and then an indirect tax. So direct tax is just on incomes on individuals and businesses, and then the consumption tax, which is the indirect tax, is when you consume a particular product, like you buy a tin of milk, you buy bottled water, you go and you shop groceries, you pay those taxes. So the avoidance is that if you don't consume, you don't pay. That is your safe net. But with the income, so far as you are earning an income, and we can earn income from three main sources: either you are in employment, self-employment, you have your own business, and then you are doing what? Investment. So these are the three major areas. So as with the individual, it's either you are working for yourself or you are being employed. So that is income or individual tax, or self-employed. Then businesses, companies that also operate in the country, at the end of the year they make some money, they declare profit, that is their income, so they also pay taxes on it, and there are certain rates that the companies also pay. And then once you are also doing an investing activity, meaning that you are into maybe rentals, or you build houses and then you sell, you are doing maybe buying shares in the stock market, you are putting your money in other businesses and you earn dividends and royalties and all that. So those are the classification of the sources of what? Income. So that is the tone for taxes in Ghana. So there is the income tax, and then there is the indirect tax, which is more of a consumption type of tax. But usually there are benefits and then, you know, disadvantages here and there. So far, usually it's convenient to take money from people in the formal sector. So for us in employment, you know, once at the end of the month, before you take your salary, then your payroll master or that payroll accountant deducts the income tax as source, which we all see. Now, the other area, which is the informal sector, that is where we have a lot of Ghanaians working in that sector, and then there hasn't been enough. Exactly, it's not like they are not paying.
It's very small as compared to those in employment.
Yes, because the setup is not formalized. So until government makes that deliberate attempt or deliberate effort to address the challenges in terms of infrastructure, logistics, the convenient way in the informal sector, they can't collect enough money, you know, from the informal sector. And we know that the informal sector is the engine of growth, because that is where we find a lot of Ghanaians operating in that sector. I mean, how many people are in the formal sector? Those that we are employed, we are very few. But it is convenient for government to be taking taxes from us, because the sector has already been formalized, and then it is a withholding tax, meaning that your employer deducts it and push it to government, so it's safe for government. But the informal sector, government must go and chase them and a whole lot.
But in this situation, it really puts a lot of pressure on those in employment, because
yes,
a large percentage of the tax comes from that. So what do you think that what structures can the government put in place to be able to get the informal sectors into the tax nets?
Yes, so the issue is one controversial tax type that was introduced, that is E-Levy. Okay.
E-Levy.
Because I mean, look at our brothers in the artisanry works, mason, carpenters, those selling at Abuso, Kanshi, electricians, plumbers. These guys make a lot of money. A lot. They even make money more than people in the formal sector, because they charge per contract. and an individual will be managing about 4 or 5 contracts. If it is a building project, he is there. If it is, a company building or putting up an office complex, or an individual has, they are there, but they don't pay any tax.
Yeah.
Okay, so the discussion was that mobile money is a platform that a lot of Ghanaians, whether you are in informal sector or not, were using that service. And government provides the platform because government is a regulator through National Communication Authority. So the thinking was that at the time, the trade transactions or the trade volume of mobile money transaction as at the time, that was last year, was around some 500 billion Ghana cedis. It means that people that send money over the phone, 100 cedis, 200 cedis, 300 cedis, when we accumulate it per year, it amounts to that 500 billion Ghana cedis. So the idea was that if government can impose some form of tax, okay, on that amount, on that trade volumes, it means that government can rake in our 5 billion Ghana cedis, okay, from the system.
But don't you think that tax, the E-Levy taxes, government is somehow trying to steal from the people? Because it's not monies that government have worked for, is the people of Ghana who have worked for those monies and put them in their own accounts.
Oh yes, the discussion was that, I mean, if you are in the formal sector and then your salary is being paid, government deduct the tax. Then again, if you are using the mobile money platform to transfer money to your mom or your dad in a village and all that, it's the same money that has already been taxed. So why should we tax?
Tax on tax.
Yeah, tax on tax. But the issue is that the mobile money is a service, a platform. Your money is in your account, all right, but now you are taking the same money which has already suffered the income tax, and you are transferring via a certain medium. So that is where government is now coming in. It was quite harsh. That is why we saw the debate in parliament, and the minority, majority, they even fought over it.
Yeah.
The discussion was that, I mean, the rate which was 1.5%, the minority wanted 1%, and even at the time wanted to even bring it down to 0.5%, because already the telcos are also charging a certain percentage when we transfer money. So that thing came up. But the main challenge for government, government do not work like we do, like individuals work, businesses also work. Government don't work. But government duty is to provide an enabling environment. What it means is that they provide the logistics, they provide building roads, building hospitals, improving on electricity and all that. So that is the enabling environment. Once you do that, you allow individuals to thrive. It means that they can locate their businesses, they can set up factories. I mean, we are in the studio discussion, there's electricity on and all that. Look at the machines and equipment here. So once government set up those enabling environment, businesses will be thriving. And when businesses and individuals are thriving, then government takes its tax. So that is the symbiotic relationship between government and individuals and business, or the tax approach. So government shouldn't sit down idle. No, you create that environment for businesses and individuals to thrive, then it imposes tax from them. So the source of funding, that should tell us that the main source of funds or funding for government is taxes. Just as businesses work and they also sell things, products or services, and they have their revenues, government revenue is tax. So that's why we have tax revenues. So whether we like it or yes, as a country, as a sovereign state, what will give money to government is taxes. So that is the fundamental discussions Ghanaians should understand before we can even zero down in.
I think Ghanaians, we all understand that taxes help the country to develop, but looking at the number of taxes that we have in the country, I think it's on a higher side, and it has imposed a very high living standards for Ghanaians.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. The issue is that, I mean, government comes, government goes. So, and anytime there's a budget, budget tells you forecast or estimate for government revenue and then government expenditure. So for our individual, for ourselves, you want to do something, how much money do you have, how much money you are going to spend? So there's a revenue side and there's an expenditure side. More often than not, or most of the times, government expenditure far outweighs the revenue.
Yeah.
So when you have that an imbalance, budget deficit, automatically something will happen. And this also comes down to the manifestos of the various political parties. We promise that we do this, we do that, we do that. I mean, I want us to understand the fundamentals of the whole discussion, because anytime the expenditure is more than the revenue, it means that government should look for money from somewhere to finance the expenditure or impose taxes. So if you are following the news, that is why this year there's something like debt restructuring, debt exchange, because the monies, if that balance is there, whereas or where the expenditure is more than the revenue, it means that government must look for money. And where government is going to look for the money is through imposition of taxes, number one, primarily, or go and borrow. Okay, so in government budget expenditure, there's an item called interest payment. So it means that government borrows from people, individuals, businesses, from domestic market and also the foreign market. And at the moment as we speak, government is at the IMF. So the IMF is the foreign market. So the discussion is that so far as there's going to be an expenditure overriding the revenue, it means that there will be a financing gap or a budget deficit. Okay, if the revenue is more than the expenditure, it will arrive to a budget surplus. But most of the situation, there's a budget deficit. And once there's a deficit, we have to address the deficit. And that is what government has been doing. And either you impose taxes that will bring burden on your people, or if you want to save your people, then you go and borrow. And that will also bring a latter burden because you have to pay interest on the borrowing.
Wow. Wow. Lovely viewers, we would go on a short commercial break and we will resume shortly. Stay tuned.
Hello viewers, my name is Julius, an economic and then fiscal policy analyst. I just want you to urge you to subscribe to El Bebeto TV and then media. You can catch El Bebeto TV and media on YouTube on El Bebeto TV and then El Bebeto Media. On Facebook, you can catch El Bebeto on El Bebeto TV and then media. Same on IG, El Bebeto TV and then media. You can also subscribe to some of their services, which is El Bebeto Photography, El Bebeto Educational Complex, El Bebeto Graphic as well, and then photography. They are into training of IT as well. So for all your stop shop on graphics, photography, and then IT training and then media training, just subscribe to El Bebeto TV. Just hit their button and then you just receive a notification. Leave a comment in the comment section and thank you for watching. Just keep your dial on El Bebeto TV. Thank you.